What's going on, everybody? It's Chris here with the Cinefanatics. Now we are getting prepared to go see Dark Phoenix tonight. What are you looking at? That. Huh. Fitting. Yeah.
2 hours later.
That really wasn't what we just saw, was it?
I don't know if that intro is actually going to age well now.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
So yeah, like I said before, my name is Chris Adams.
And I'm Robert Adams.
We are the Cinefanatics, and we are here now for a review of Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, so, we did that beginning intro as a joke, but, I mean,
when you're going into this, like, first of all, you're hearing a bunch of reviews, you're seeing Rotten Tomato scores, you're hearing early screenings, and fire alarms are going off in people's theaters, apparently. And,
yeah. And also take into account what we thought, our thoughts and...
Based on what we saw in the trailer?
The public's thoughts going into this before any screenings had occurred.
Yeah.
That was a pretty safe bet that, a dumpster fire was imminent.
Here's the thing. It's actually not a dumpster fire.
It really wasn't as bad as I thought, and it seems like what you thought it would be. It was actually a watchable X-Men movie.
So, we'll cut right at the beginning. Is it the best X-Men movie we've had? No, not at all. Not by a long shot. Is it the worst? No, not at all. Not by a long shot.
I think the first thing we need to knock out, of course this is a spoiler-free review, but the thing that a lot of people are going to be asking is, well, how does this stack up with the other X-Men movies? And I'm going to give you a warning right off the bat. We may actually be doing some comparisons to X-Men The Last Stand. That is what you do with this movie.
You mean we're going to be comparing this Phoenix storyline to the last time a Phoenix storyline was in a movie?
Yeah, probably.
That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Goodness.
How dare they?
Okay.
So, I will say, and I think we're both in agreement, that yes, this movie, in terms of all the other X-Men movies, it was better than X-Men The Last Stand. You weren't trying to shoehorn a mutant cure storyline in with the Dark Phoenix saga. So, it was also better than X-Men Origins Wolverine, which, that's not... It's not too hard to hit above that, but...
There's a lot of things that are better than X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah. The Wolverine.
Now,
which...
that one, it's hard to say because there's a lot of people that really like the Wolverine. I found it dull, boring. I actually was falling asleep during it. So, take that as an opinion, if you will.
And see, I liked the beginning of the Wolverine. I hated the ending. No. Like, once they brought in the, Viper, Madam Hydra character, it just became a giant, show. And, yeah, so otherwise, I did like the Wolverine, but I think overall I liked Dark Phoenix more than that movie. And then also X-Men Apocalypse. Yeah. As much as I love the character of Apocalypse, and... I don't know, the storyline for that movie was and the makeup on Apocalypse was
Yeah.
But I think this overall told a better story. It had a lot more of an emotional gut punch than Apocalypse did.
Yeah, so at the very least, we're keeping it a little bit more intimate. It's dealing with the actual X team, the actual X-Men members. We're not having to get to know and figure out who this entity-like mutant fellow from way back when is and why we should care about him or be afraid of him. We've known Jean. We've known Jean from past X-Men movies. We know Jean from the movie before, from Apocalypse. We've gotten to know her this time. And so, you start introducing the Phoenix storyline here. Yeah, it's better than... It's better than those other movies, which... to be fair, is not saying a whole lot.
Yeah, that's not too hard of a bar. Real quick, even going back, talking about Last Stand, if you look at some of the stuff that's happened, say, like, in both of these movies, come to find out, it's, again, not spoils, but Xavier was trying to repress some stuff in Phoenix's head. Some big event is the catalyst for unleashing Phoenix. Right afterwards, she goes back to her childhood home.
Yeah.
There's a confrontation with both Magneto and Xavier at a house with Phoenix. And yeah, as you pretty much already know, an X-Men character gets killed off by Phoenix.
It's who you think it is.
It is exactly who you think it is. The trailers revealed it. I'm not going to say it, but I mean, go back and look at the trailers.
Gave it away.
Yeah. And everyone already knows anyways. But, I mean, that's all exactly the same from The Last Stand. They hit the same beats. Now, I will quickly also touch upon the comics of the whole Dark Phoenix story. Some of that's kind of similar. Mm-hmm. In the comics, once she discovered her full Phoenix power, she did go back to her childhood home. But the comics also added in the whole storyline of the Hellfire Club wanting to take over Phoenix. The X-Men having to fight their way through the Hellfire Club, and then at the end, Phoenix inadvertently destroys an entire planet. Then you have the Shi'ar, which is like an international space cops led by Empress Lilandra, who come in trying to kill the Phoenix because she destroyed this planet. So that's what the storyline basically from the comics was.
You nerd.
Yes. And a lot of that I think would have translated pretty decently if they would have expanded that into the full set of the movies. We dealt with the Hellfire Club in X-Men First Class.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that was already set up, and they could have...
If they knew the direction they were going with this franchise, they could have weaved an entire storyline from the beginning to this point.
Yeah.
And that actually kind of brings up something I wanted to say, because as much as I like this movie, I think this particular story and the way they were doing it would have fit better, say, maybe before Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I don't necessarily want the X-Men franchise to end on the Apocalypse note. Give them a reason to do that better. But I feel like storyline-wise, this story would have made more sense if it happened before that one.
As if, the Phoenix Force and the existence of that power is the catalyst that wakes up Apocalypse.
Maybe even that. Something like that.
And then Apocalypse is now the world is ready for my rule. That would have been fantastic, but...
you would have been able to do a little bit more. You wouldn't have had certain characters portrayed the way they are. Jessica Chastain. And...
Okay, we'll touch upon that in a minute.
Yeah, I think it just would have made more sense. So Jessica Chastain is one of the things I didn't like about this movie, but again, here in a second. The other thing, touching on it while we're here, is this movie apparently takes place in the 90s, and as we've all seen from the trailers, as everybody knows, they've done a poor job at aging everybody up correctly. It's like they didn't even care.
They haven't aged anyone at all.
You're seeing images of Michael Fassbender on the internet right now playing Magneto, and he looks like he's still maybe 42.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be in his 60s by now.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
I mean, that man ages like Keanu Reeves.
Now, it makes sense for, Mystique, because she can shapeshift and change the way she looks. She just keeps herself looking young the entire time.
It makes sense for, Wolverine, who wasn't in this movie. But because he ages slow anyway. So some characters it made sense. It didn't make sense for, say, Xavier or Magneto.
Maybe they could have put a little bit more makeup on Xavier. Maybe try to make him look a little more like Patrick Stewart. I don't know. Beast is supposed to be, in his 40s. And he still looks like he's in his late 20s.
Yeah.
So...
Speaking of acting in these roles, though...
a large portion of the people in this movie did a fantastic job, I thought.
Yeah.
The actors, Sophie Turner, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, everybody, Storm,
Alexandra Shipp,
her, Cody Smith-McPhee,
mm-hmm.
Everybody did a very good job. Ty Sheridan, did I mention him already? I don't know. Yeah. They all did a good job of just holding it together, because I think it's because of them this movie actually works.
Yeah, the acting from them were all easily on point.
Yeah.
Fantastic acting all around from them. But then you get into the separation of their acting and how well they did with the role of the character.
How
and
it's written.
How was the character needed.
Yeah.
For the most part, again, most everyone was needed in there, and they did a fantastic job. I think we'll touch upon the fact that Magneto was really only there because he's a main character in this series. He's
He's there for the same reason that Nightcrawler and Beast and all of them are there. He's just a main player.
But he wasn't that integral to this particular storyline, I would say.
Not really.
But I mean, again, Michael Fassbender, fantastic job in this with the emotions that he had in this movie. You really he still got in there very well with that.
Yeah, I mean, he really does just feel like part of the team at this point. He doesn't feel like his role is bigger or greater than anybody else who's a part of the X-Men in this one.
Jennifer Lawrence, though, as Mystique, again, we see what happens in the trailer and whatnot. We know the extent of her role in this movie, and I don't think Jennifer Lawrence, acting wise, was really all there for this.
But see, I would argue that they just didn't give her a whole lot to do. They really just did not give her a whole lot to come from in this movie.
Yeah. So I don't know. And then Jessica Chastain's character.
Jessica Chastain's a fantastic actress. We need to say that up top. She's good at her roles, and for what she was given in this movie, the role that was written for her, she handled it the best she could.
Yeah. So going back, it's not really a spoiler, I guess, because it's not really much of a surprise. We didn't know who she was from the trailers or anything until this movie came out, and when it was released, that who she was.
Okay.
So overall, I mean, her character just really didn't feel needed.
The thing with her character is it was very weak. It was there to be a catalyst, basically, for Jean Grey and some of her actions, but outside of that,
she was just a central antagonist.
Yeah, her role was a generic antagonistic role, and just nothing about her character actually worked for this movie, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, that's probably it for most of the acting and stuff. I will say that one of the things that was really impressive about this was that this was Simon Kinberg's first movie that he directed. Now, he had been, producer, writer on pretty much most of the previous X-Men movies. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he knew this cast. He knew the crew. He
knows the property very well.
Yeah, and this is the first time that he's stepped up and actually handled directing. And I don't think this was that bad for a first-time director in this. I mean, we want to go back and look at, say, X-Men The Last Stand again, which was the first movie in the X-Men franchise that was directed by someone other than Bryan Singer.
Yeah.
Which was Brett Ratner, who at that point had already become an established director. He had decent movies, especially with the Rush Hour series. But
not a decent person.
Yeah, that aside. But Last Stand just completely, I would say, it did tank. Here's a movie that's being directed by someone who knows the property, first-time director. It's watchable. It is an entertaining movie. It is okay.
Yeah.
So, I commend him on that, and I would like to see what else he can do.
I'm afraid right now that he's going to be catching too much flack for this movie, and the fact of the matter is that for him jumping into that director seat first time, he obviously knows the property. He knows the characters. He's read comics. He's obviously read the X-Men comics, because some of the things that they did do with these characters are pretty comic based. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the things that they did in this movie actually in an MCU version of the X-Men.
Yeah.
So, him being able to handle this property and take the heat at this point after Apocalypse, those are pretty big shoes that he has to try to walk around in, and I think he handled it pretty well.
Yeah. And speaking of the MCU, we do know that this is a Fox property that's now been purchased by Disney, so now Disney does have the rights to X-Men.
Yep.
And other than New Mutants, if that movie actually ever does get released, this was the final X-Men movie from Fox.
X-Men proper. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I did like, a kind of a nice little nod Easter egg, was when the part in the trailer where you show the X-Men characters, they're all on a train being held by guards. If you notice on the guards shoulder patch, the organization is MCU. essentially the X-Men got captured by the MCU. I don't know if that was done on purpose, but that's absolutely hilarious.
So dumb.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that and I realized that, I didn't see it in the trailer, even though it does show it.
Yeah.
When I saw it in the movie, I was like, ha, that's really good. I love it.
So, I mean, some of my final thoughts here is just touch on a couple of things. I really like the action in this movie, the fight sequences, especially in the climax of the movie. You get to see the X-Men kind of working together as a team now, which is I feel like I haven't really gotten that in many X-Men movies prior. There hasn't been a lot of interactivity between the team members working together to take down the things or who they need to take down or what have you.
Yeah, not particularly, yeah.
And then the fighting sequences, especially in that climax scene, you have Nightcrawler's a standout to me. I thought he was fantastic. Magneto was a standout there. I mean, just everybody's playing a different role, and they're all hitting it. They're all nailing the way their character fights and how they interact as team members. Storm again, even.
Storm was fantastic in this. Oh, and I think we mentioned it, like, talking amongst ourselves, but Alexandria's ship probably does a better Storm than Halle Berry does.
Which is... it's a bold statement, but the thing is like, I would actually now rather watch Alexandria's ship continue in the Storm role rather than Halle Berry. Now, briefly touching on this, if they go into the MCU and they follow comics, Storm has to be Black Panther's wife at some point, and
probably not going to happen.
Age difference is probably rough for that. I don't know, but she did a good job though.
Yeah.
So I mean, final thoughts is like I said at the beginning, is it the best X-Men movie? No. Is it the worst X-Men movie? Not at all.
Yeah.
It's probably not the best one for it to end off of, so don't go into the theater going, oh, this has got to be the big grand finale to the X-Men. It's gonna... But, I would still say, and this is where it's getting a little rough that we're doing this out of 5, because it limits the number of numbers that we have here.
Yeah.
I would give it probably like 2.5.
That's actually what I was thinking too. So probably for both of us all around, 2.5 Phoenixes or X-Men logos. Which one do you want to use? Phoenix or X-Men logos?
He'll decide in editing. It'll be right down here, whatever they are.
2.5 something or another's out of 5.
We thought this through.
Yep. You can see a little behind the scenes of our inner processing.
Anyway, yeah. It was fine. It was good. It was better than a dumpster fire. But yeah, recommend going and seeing it. Check out the last little entry into the X-Men franchise and get ready for what's to come.
Yep. Anyways, that's going to do it for this review. Did you see Dark Phoenix? What did you think about it? Let us know down below. And what did you think of this review? Do you agree with us? Do you not agree with us? Let us know down below. Let's talk about it. If you like this review, hit like. If you didn't like this review, then it's like... Also, above our heads, there is a subscribe button if you'd like to subscribe to our channel, and off to the side are a couple other videos that we have graciously made. And as always,
MCU, here we come.
Yeah, take the Fantastic Four with you. Yeah. Later.
See ya.
I wonder if that fire ever went out in that dumpster.
I don't know. Did you take the special effects off of it?